Okay, so this is a continuance, but I'll say the intro just in case somebody wants to hear it. Hello from my little corner of the world to your little nook and corner of the world. There you go. I think that was a beautiful intro. So let's just jump right into it. And this is more so about the traumatic effects of dealing with, I guess you can say, a narcissist. Um, and how a narcissist and empath relationship works, in my opinion, after dealing with such a thing, and why I think the empath is usually called bipolar or borderline personality, and what I think it really just means. Um, and maybe some ways you can heal from it, and how that healing may look, and just my experience with it so far. And I spoke in the last video about a bit of the, situation a bit more in depth. If you want to go back to that part, you can. Um, that's also my audio about, veganism and vegetarianism and love and things like that. But if you just want to hear about the mainly the narcissistic and empath prospect of it, then that's what this is more so about. But after, loving this person, the way, be, beginning to love this person that way, in a way that like I said, it could only be compared to, I think, the love God has for us all, and, or whatever. And when you think about it, I think God does have love for everything and everyone, because everything has a place in the world. Every little blade of grass, every little rock, every little pebble, it has a place. If it didn't have a place, it wouldn't be able to exist here. Everything in the universe, to even the little specks of dust in the air, all have a place. And so they were literally thought about when creation was happening. They were thought about. And so they were accounted for, they were seen for, they were heard for, and they were carried, all the way into this moment. And so there's no way that they weren't loved and protected, up until this point. And so is you. And so, like I said, I do think God or creator or the you inverse, the us inverse, um, is anything less than that. Um, Loving or caring or empathetic. So when all he did, happened between us, I think it traumatized me, because I had realized when I did what I did to him, like I said, it did remind me of the people who've had hurt me and abused me. And I was like, oh my God, is this what I'm becoming? And mine was accidental. Like I said, I really was not intending for that to be who I was becoming or how I was acting. And I didn't think it would be seen as manipulative, because, like I said, to me, manipulative was something bad. It was like you're trying to sabotage something, or you're trying to lie, or you're trying to go, you know, against somebody, or turn two people against each other, or play the ends to the middle. And to me, that was more so what manipulation was. And I wasn't trying to do any of those things. Um, but any form of making something happen by your will instead of by nature is more so a sign of manipulation. Like, you can say mowing your grass is manipulation. Um, Watering your flowers is manipulation, because you're, doing it yourself instead of just letting it naturally happen. So there is, manipulation that can have positive effects, and there is manipulation that can have negative effects. So we have to be very careful with our actions as they play a part in the world and ask ourselves, will this impact this person positively or negatively? And did this person or thing ask for this? That's the next thing. Because plants need more water than rain provides, right? We know this. Birds sometimes need more food than is provided due to humans cutting everything down and destroying everything. We know this. But humans are able to open their mouth. A plant may not be, a plant, may start to die a little bit before, it needs watering. We've seen less bees, and now we take bee life more seriously. That's a cry for help. So there will be cries for help, but you have to wait till the thing needs you. If not, you're kind of just over anxious. You're kind of just sometimes maybe over watering or overfeeding the bees or taking care of the bees. And so you're just doing, in a way, too much. And so you have to wait until things need you. And I think sometimes the best way to know is just to wait till they ask. Wait till they ask. Um, and of course, once again, you can help here and there, but everything isn't your mission, everything isn't your project. Um, just do, what best works for you. So if, helping nature helps you, then go for it. If helping the bees help you, go for it. Um, but it helping another person doesn't always help you. Sometimes it makes it worse for you because once again, nature will ask when it needs help. You can look and you can tell. Um, but humans are very different. And so you should definitely wait until another human asks. Because if not, sometimes you may end up helping or thinking you're helping, and it just makes everything worse and worse and worse and worse. And you may ask, well, how did this happen? Or why did this happen? And sometimes, and this is what I've learned as an empath, we do have these amazing gifts that are meant to help a lot of different people, but we do have to learn protection with those gifts and protection of ourselves. We have to learn boundaries because if not, there will be people who all they are looking to do is take and take and take and take and take and take. And if all you're willing to do because you're an empath is give and give and give and give, of course they're not going to tell you to stop because they thrive off you not having boundaries. And so sometimes we have to go through those lessons of helping people who hurt us to learn to be very careful. And you don't want to help people so that they can reward you and praise you. But at the same time, you don't want to put yourself in positions where you're going to get hurt either. So you want to be very, very careful of where you are putting your presence and you are putting your gift. Um, and with humans, I have learned that it's best to just put it in places where it's asked for instead of where you think it should be, or where you would like for it to be best. Put it in places where it's needed. And so usually that's, in something you create or something you can join that's already been created. But you don't just walk up and give it to another individual most of the time because once again, it may not be received the same way. So put it in places where it will be received well so you don't have to go through that lesson. So maybe that's a tool if you're an empath or you're someone who is starting to think you're an empath. Maybe that's something that can kind of help you not go through this, similar situation that I'm speaking about. But it did traumatize me because, like I said, after what I did to him, I knew very well what that meant, what that mindset was. And it's let me do this so I can get what I want from this person, despite how they may feel about it. In fact, you may not even be thinking about how they may feel about it. So it's not even despite of how they may feel. You didn't even think about how they may feel. So you can't despite how they may, because you didn't even think about it. It never crossed your mind. And so you're very much in predator mode at that time because it's what do I want? How can I get it from this person? How can I get it from this person in a way that they don't even know I'm getting it from them? how can I get it in a way from this person where they think it's their idea, they think they've, you know, consented to this when they really haven't. It's all me, and any consent is coerced. And how can I still look like the good person in all of this? How can I make sure I'm on top, that I get all the power, all the reward from this? And if it does come out what I've done, it may hurt them, it may harm them. But I'm not really worried about that right now. I don't actually care about someone else's feelings. I only care about what I want. And I'm not willing to take no for an answer, so I'm not actually going to ask. I'm just going to move the chess pieces and force it to happen. And once again, a rapist can sit in a car and say, "Hmm, I want sex." And I'm just going to go out and I'm going to find somebody, and I don't really care what they think. I don't really care how they feel about it. And I don't know how I'm going to get them in the car. I may like just tap them, but then they may put up a fight, and that may not excite me. It may not be as fun. So maybe I should like manipulate them. Maybe I should come up with like a ruse or something, right? To get them in the car. And now we're kind of stepping into Ted Bundy territory here. Like, hey, can you help me take these books to my car with my broken arm? And or maybe even Dharma territory. Like, hey, I got $50. You want to take a couple pictures? You need money. I got money. Like, just come along, friend. And that's how they started out thinking. How can I get this person to do what I want and to go with me so I can get more of what I want? And that's how a rapist thinks. That's how a killer thinks. That's how a thief thinks. And so it starts with just simple manipulation, simple lying, simple going behind people's back, simple stepping over boundaries, simple not having empathy. And it started with just that until that person was able to describe things that they saw in my house and things that they saw in my room without my permission. I don't know how they know that. I don't know how. Well, how they knew that, because that's not the case anymore. I've gotten way better since that person isn't in my life. But how did they even get there? How did that ever even happen? And so that was the problem. You start out one thing and now you're doing all this other shit because you don't know how to stop and you haven't admitted to yourself of who you are, what you've done. And people like that are very dangerous. And one of the most traumatic things that did happen to me when I was younger is my cousin ended up getting killed by her boyfriend. And we weren't as close as me and some of my other family members, but she is one cousin that I really did look up to. I didn't get to see her all the time, unfortunately, but she was the only dark brown girl in our family like me that I was around at that time that much, and she was very pretty. She was one of those dark brown girls that it was just like, whoa, like she, looked like something off TV or like a music video or something. She was very gorgeous. And so I always really looked up to her in that way because I was never very happy in my skin when I was younger as a dark brown girl. And to see her, it was just like, wow, she's really pretty. And she had a baby. I remember when we first found out she was having a baby, and we were like, what the fuck? Because she was just so young. And I was just like, how is she gonna have a baby? I was like, she's so small. And then she had a baby, and her baby was almost fucking bigger than her. Her baby was huge. And that was the first time and the last time I ever saw a dead baby in real life. Um, she tried to leave her man, and she went back to get her clothes and he killed them both. And that's why I hold on to that so much because, and if I'm not mistaken, that was actually the first time I even saw a dead body. But it was not the dead body of, you know, an adult at that time because she had finally become an adult. It was the dead baby. It was the dead baby. Because I had never seen, like, of course I've seen dead, bodies and things on TV, but I had never seen a dead baby on TV or in real life. And I think what scared me the most is she had on this dress that reminded me of a Easter dress I used to have. And she had on the fuzzy socks and everything. If you're a black girl, you know what I'm talking about. And I remember being just upset about the socks. And I was like, I wonder if she's itching, I wonder if her soul is itching. I wonder if she wants those socks on her, you know? And I was like, I wonder if she can hear us. I wonder if she can see us. I wonder if she, can speak now, or if she's still kind of, goo goo gaga, I have so many questions and I can't even ask either one of them. But the main one was, I wonder if she's uncomfortable in those fucking socks. And I couldn't wrap my head around it because I was like, and I don't know if I told my mom this or if I kept thinking this over the years when I was younger, but I was just like, I hope if I die, they don't put me in those fucking socks. And it really, I kept thinking, like, what if I die? What if I die? What if I die? Because she died and she was only 2 years old. And I was just like, she couldn't even tell them not to put her in the socks, So should I tell somebody to not put me in the socks? And the dress, like I said, reminded me of one of my Easter dresses, and it reminded me of one of my baby pictures. I believe it's even the one I have on my wall right now in my room. And I was like, that looks like my dress, you know? And she had pigtails, two pigtails, and I was like, my mom puts me in pigtails like that. And it just, I saw a lot of myself and this dead baby, unfortunately. And I just could not stop looking and I just could not stop staring. And I almost didn't want to leave. I just kept looking and I couldn't believe it. And I actually had school the next day and I was just like, she's never going to get to go to school, you know? And I think a part of me was like, hey, she's lucky. At least she doesn't have to go to school. But I was just like, yeah, but she's never going to get to, have lunch with her friends. She's never going to get to experience recess. She's never going to, you know, get to stop being that little girl who wears dresses and starts wearing jeans because that was the thing at that time my mom was like doing with us, like, hey, no more dresses or no more jeans, only dresses and skirts, and you can only wear jeans on, like, I think it was Saturday or some bullshit like that. And I was like, she's never gonna be able to grow into jeans and she's always gonna be stuck in dresses. And I was like, I wonder, did she even know her mom was her mom? She was just so young, and I was like, I wonder what all she knew, what she really comprehended of this world. But the main thing is not only did I have school, the next day I had a spelling test and I was like, she didn't even know her ABCs. That's how young she was. She didn't even know her ABCs yet. And so now I'm a kid with school, in the morning. And all I can, think about is I'm no longer just a kid. I'm no longer invincible. I can die, at any time. If this 2-year old can die, I can die. And that's when I think death became real to me. It became a thing that I knew. And that death, that story, the way I found out about it, what I read in the paper, it followed me and has followed me all the way up until now. And I remember, especially when I was younger, I was just like, I wonder, every time I liked a guy, every time you know, I was like, I wonder if that's gonna be the ending of our story, right? Like, I wonder if that's what's gonna happen. And so I made it a very big mission of mine to not choose any guys who were abusive, to not choose any guys who were rude or angry or um who had violence, that I saw, anything that made me feel unsafe. I made it a big mission of mine because I said if they kill me, it's one thing, but if I choose to have a baby with them and they kill our baby, that's another. And from a kid, I always just said, like, I don't want my family to see me in a casket, I don't want my brothers to have to see me in a casket. And I don't want them to put those fucking socks on me. And so those two things followed me, and unfortunately, and I was telling my friend this the other day as well. I kind of wish, because I begged my mom, I was like, no, mom, I want to go inside. I want to see. I want to see. And I kind of do regret it. And like I told her, I don't regret a lot of things in my life, but that is one thing I do regret. Because if I would have known how much it would have stuck with me, if I would have known how much it would have bothered, or just how much it would have scarred me and made me just so scared of any man, really, plus all the other things that would follow that in my life, I probably never would have went inside. But I think I was just curious, like, oh my god, I've never seen a dead baby before. And like I said, I don't think at that point I had seen a dead body either. Maybe I had, maybe our pastors, but I'm not quite for sure. But I knew for a fact I hadn't seen a dead baby. And I think that is the one regret out of my entire life. I don't have any other regrets. I think it's just that one. Because I do think it has made me just see the world in a way that maybe other people don't. And it has made it hard to love me or hard to be with me because I like anything, like any one small thing that makes me feel unsafe, and I am out that bitch. Like, I am out. Um, but at the same time, I do think it's the safest thing because it really does make sure it doesn't happen to you. I feel it's the best way you can protect yourself from it being you. And like I said, I could try to be with someone like that. I could try to get that person help. I could try to love them through it for a while, but I would never have a kid with them because, like I said, killing me is one thing, but killing my baby or our baby is another. And it was his baby too, which made it even worse, is that it wasn't just her baby, it was his baby as well. Um, and he killed her, his own daughter, his own 2-year-old daughter, because his mom was trying, her mom was trying to leave him, and he killed his own daughter. Um, and her mother, the woman he had laid down with and pretended to have a connection with, and maybe even did, but to the point that it drives you to murder is not love by any means, because once again, unconditional love is, even if you leave me, I will still love you. Even if you go on and be with others, I will still love you. Now, I may not be with you, I may not, still be available to you, but I still will love you and have love for you. And that's what makes it unconditional. My body is not unconditional. My safety is not unconditional, but my love can be. Um, and so, like I said, it's just, I need to get a manicure. My bad, a pedicure, not a manicure. I need to get a pedicure. Granted, it's fucking cold out here, so like a lot of me is ashy, but I need to get my toes clipped. Well, I can clip them myself, but mainly, I mean, I could do it myself, actually. I could. Um, not on Sunday though. I gotta clean our bathroom because my brother's not gonna fucking do it. And he said he was, but he's not. If he was gonna do it 2 days ago when he said he would do it. So I'm gonna do it. And so maybe sometime next week, I'll give myself like a nice little pedicure and have a chocolate bar. I already had my sweet for the month. It's cutting season, so I can't have like a lot of sweets. And I was supposed to save it for my period, but I ended up having it like a few days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now. So now I'm on my period craving chocolate. Ooh. I mean, unless I can find one less than 100 calories, then yeah, sure. But I don't know any chocolate that's less than 100 calories. So, except those like little minis that come in the pack. And by the time I eat one of those, it'll just be over with. I'll eat way more. Um, neither here nor there, once again. Um, I do, like I said, think it really did change me. And so that's why I'm very like, and that's why I was so scared the moment I realized what I had did. Because I was like, whoa, whoa. Like, if my cousin had known that that man was who he was and he was capable of what he was capable of, she probably wouldn't have done it. She probably wouldn't have had a baby with him. She probably wouldn't have laid down with him. And maybe there were signs that she didn't listen to because she wanted to be loved. But I always had to make sure that I listened to them. So my family didn't go through that again. And like I said, so they didn't put those fucking socks on me. And so, unfortunately, I don't know what was more traumatic, the baby or the baby in the socks. Like, I was just like, oh my God, I know she's fucking itching in those things. And I just wanted to take them off. I was like, can we just take these fucking socks off of her? And it just really bothered me, the fucking socks. Um, so that's why I instantly was like, no, you need to get to the bottom of this. You need to maybe he was manipulative, maybe he was very charming and hid it. Maybe she just thought the signs weren't as big as they were until it was too late. But for me, the moment I did that, I was like, no, you need to get to the bottom of this, because if not, you you never know where you could end up. And so I made it very much a mission to sit down and ask myself, why I did the thing I did and what caused it, and to make sure it never happened again. So when I noticed the signs of manipulation, I noticed the signs of wanting love, of wanting attention and power that he had. They were red flags. And like I said, I could not open myself up to him and tell him all of this because I didn't trust him because of what I saw. But I did want to help him because I loved him. And so the best thing I could do was warn him and say, you know what, this isn't good what you're doing. This isn't, gonna lead you down a good path. Like, please don't do this. Please stop this. Please think about this. Please try to do this instead. Please think about this, X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. And I just sent him on his way. He was leaving, and I'm like, okay, well, as long as the best I can do is try, and I hope you don't fucking hurt anybody else. I hope you don't hurt yourself. And he, of course, was like, oh my God, this is fucking weird. This bitch is crazy. And once again, he didn't see life as I saw life, because maybe he didn't see a dead baby, when he was in third grade like I did. And I don't even think, I think maybe it was even earlier than third grade. But he didn't see a dead baby. And if he did, he didn't have the same reaction as I had. He didn't have the same reflection that this could be me and that death is real. And the thing is, maybe had it only been the dead baby, years later, I would have kind of grown out of that fear, but it wasn't just a dead baby. It was a grown up mother, you know? And so either one of them could have been me. I saw my reflection in both of them, especially the one I always, wanted to look like and inspire to be like and dress like and, have a nice body like and be cute and, as young girls who look up to our cute, beautiful cousins and we're like, yeah, I want to be like that when I get older and things like that. And so it was even more so. And I cannot put my family through that again. I cannot imagine myself being in that casket and what people would say or people would think. And especially after my sister was born, I was like, I wonder if she would look at me in a casket and go, she would not want those fucking socks on her. Take those off. Like, I could not imagine her being in that position or her seeing herself in me, but the me she sees is a dead version in a casket. And so I made it, like I said, a huge mission of mine after that to not put myself with any guy that I felt like would possibly take me from my family or possibly put me in that situation. And it does make me very picky, and it does make me very much a no nonsense type of person. And I guess people can say, oh, you're not cute enough for that, or da 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 da. Oh, a woman who wants to protect herself and she's not playing about that shit, it doesn't matter how she looks, she's gonna fucking do that. And I think when we see what women do settle for, or we see what can happen when a woman does settle, who she may become, or the death she may become, I think we should learn to maybe look at the women who don't accept anything less and say, you know what, it's probably very important to take notes so that I can make sure, because I'd rather be lonely and alive than obsessed over and dead. because alive I get to live, alive I get to enjoy, alive I get to feel, I get to breathe, I get to experience. And death is just, that's it, you know? And yeah, you do have another lifetime after that, but the one that you were living ceases to exist anymore. That one's done. And so that life is gone and you don't remember it, you can't connect to it, and you can't really connect or remember anybody else you may run into in the next life. Even if that's your best friend, even if that was your favorite cousin, you'll never know it and you'll never remember. And so that connection that once was does cease to exist. Your connection to this plane, this realm ceases to exist the moment you die. No matter if you come back 1,000 times, 1,000,000,000 times, it'll never be in that exact experience again. And so death is very real. It's just not permanent. Um, and so it traumatized me when I saw the red flags and then warned him, and then he did it anyway. He kept doing it, and it was just even worse what I found and what I found out and what I heard. And I was like, he really does not see who he's becoming. And once again, he hadn't had my experience in life to see where I was coming from. But I didn't trust him enough to talk to him. I didn't trust him enough to be close to him. I didn't trust him enough to let him touch me or be around me. I did not trust him at all because, once again, you can't even stop becoming what you could become. You can't even stop being a horrible person for 5 seconds. You can't even stop enjoying it enough for 5 seconds. So why would I trust you? Why would I tell you anything? Why would I, if I don't see myself having a relationship with you or being with you in the long run? And I don't see that because I don't trust you and I don't feel safe with you. So why would I speak to you and open up to you and invite you into my life or anything like that? But of course, when you love someone, you hope that they'll change. You hope that they'll get better. You hope that they see. And so I held out hope for a really long time. But of course, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Until eventually, one day, I heard a conversation, and he said the conversation never happened until he finally said the conversation happened, where someone talked about the words he said about killing someone if I ever moved on with them. And of course, that's all it took for me. That was like one of the final straws that I couldn't come back from. And I tried. I did. I tried with all my might. But I just could not get over. Now it's not me in the casket. Now it's not my child in the casket. It's someone else's child that may be in the casket. And of course, usually if they'll kill someone else because of you, they'll kill you too. And so that still wasn't ruled out to me. And like I said, I tried so hard to come back. I tried, but I just couldn't. I could never quite get over it. I could never quite feel safe again when it came to making up with this person, enough to even meet up with this person or talk to this person or run into this person, because I just kept seeing myself where my cousin was laying. And we don't have any kids together, so there would be no baby there. But if I did move on with someone, maybe their viewing would be in the other room while mine was in this room. And I couldn't get that thought out of my head, and I still can't. And so it was very hard. It's very hard because now it's like the person that you hope will get better and that somehow one day it can work, it never can work now because you will never be able to trust them. And I feel like at times there are ways I could begin to trust again. But after dealing with someone who manipulates and lies over and over and over again, you do wonder any sense of change. Could it just be another manipulation tactic? Could it just be another, like, oh, I'll wait 6 months this time until she warms up. Last time I waited 3, but this time I'll wait 6, and then I'll go back to my old ways. Or, oh, last time she waited 6, so this time I'll be good for 2 years. And after 2 years, I'm gonna punch this bitch in the face. Like, you never know, you know? Um, and of course, once he began sleeping around, it made it worse because now I can't even trust that if I forgave you and we were together, that I would be the only one you had eyes for. And if I decided to leave at that time, would I be able to leave, or would, once again, it be another family reunion at a funeral? And it was a lot until I realized I don't think I'll be able to trust him or feel safe around him again. And so maybe I have to start processing that. Maybe I have to start, moving on. And I did not want to give up, because sometimes when you give up, it does drive that person to the exact action that you're trying to prevent them from going towards. And so it was very hard, because it's like you don't want to be the person that gives up, or the person that walks away from them, especially when you can clearly see that no one else in their life is good for them. No one else is telling them the right thing. No one else is showing them the right way. No one else has empathy or care, so they can't teach him to have it. And so he'll never get better. He'll never be able to become better if no one is around to speak that life into him, or if he's afraid to become that because the people he is around detest it. And so taking that safe space or that warmth away does hurt, and it does scare you, because it's like, is that the final straw? What will this person become? But I think in any situation like that, you do have to remember that that person's actions is their own. Everything they did to you was a choice. Everything was thought about and done anyway. Even if it was only thought about for a split second, the option of hurting you, the option of losing you because of it was still there. They knew it, they were aware of it, and they chose to do it anyway. And so I think that does help you begin to heal when you realize that person was okay with hurting you, that person was okay with losing you. Especially if you love yourself, because then you have to say, why would I want to give myself to something who doesn't, someone who doesn't love me, or someone who doesn't care for me? And I think the best way you can protect yourself is to always see yourself as the baby, you know, you once were. And maybe the reason I say that, I always used to think it's because how I protected my sister when she was a baby. But now I think about it, it could be because of seeing the dead baby. And I just say the dead baby because I don't want to put, all that information out there on the internet. But the baby does have a name. The mother does have a name. But I don't want to share that, especially if he ever hears this. I don't want him of all people to know that. Um, so maybe it could be because of that, but I always just say, like, and it's true, because that the baby couldn't have protected herself. She didn't really know what was going on. And maybe she did, maybe she was a bit scared, but she couldn't protect herself. she couldn't call the cops, she couldn't run away, she couldn't do any of that, and she couldn't give her mother CPR, she couldn't, you know, put pressure on her own womb. Like, she didn't know any life-saving measures for herself or anybody in the room. And no baby really does. No baby really does, especially at 2 years old. So I always tell people, just the best way to protect yourself is just to imagine yourself as the baby you once were. Look at a baby picture of you, carry it around if you have to. But remember, you were once that baby and you're still that baby. You're just a bit grown now. You know, sperm grows. It grows into a fucking human being, and now you're just a grown ass sperm walking around here. And but you're still that baby, and so protect it. If no one else is gonna protect it, protect it. And you couldn't protect it at 2, you couldn't probably protect it at 4, but now you can. And so protect it like your life depends on it, because it does sometimes. You know, my cousins did, her babies did. And if she would have maybe took every little sign serious as if her life depended on it, then maybe things could have been different. And of course, sometimes people just latch onto you and they just see you and they stalk you and they care about you anyways and they're attracted to you anyways. But the best thing you can do is to always surround yourself with people who are going to protect you. You know, surround yourself with fences and walls and locks and bolts and chains. And I have so since dealing with him, I've bought so much security equipment. Since him describing my room, I've bought the pattern stained glass sticking, you know, thing that goes on the window. Like, you stick it there and it just stays. Um, you know, I bought curtains. I bought, I'm not gonna say everything, but that's still not all I want. You know, I've bought things that aren't even up yet. I have so many things that I bought. And unfortunately, I still do have to leave the house. And that's where the anxiety comes in. That's where the fear comes in. And unfortunately, recently, I left a job because of the traumatic things that happened. It just messed with my mind. You know, I met him there. The place just had too many memories. The whispers, people talking, the gossip, the presence of him on other women that I felt, it it was all very haunting, and it caused my mind to just warp. And to hear people bragging about that, to hear people praising him of that, once again, I don't think people understand how serious and dangerous someone like that is until they see the repercussions of a man like that, until they see a dead mother and her baby in a casket. And for me, seeing my friend who committed suicide laying in a casket, I think some people don't understand the effects mental health truly has on us until we see a body in a casket. Um, and that's another reason why I was so traumatized by what he did, because his friend killed himself. And so for you to play with someone else's mental health like that after seeing your friend in a casket makes me wonder, how much did your friend's passing actually move you? How much did it actually affect you for you to think it was okay to then go and play with someone else's mental health? And so I think I'm too empathetic and caring to be able to wrap my mind around what kind of person does such a thing, because I could never, and I would never. And so, oh, are we about to go to the store? Am I about to get macaroni and cheese? Guys, I may be about to get macaroni and cheese. This may have to be 3 parts. I'm sorry. I know I'm in the middle of a deep fucking go, but man, I need coffee, I need macaroni and cheese, and I want a fucking cigar. I don't need a cigar, but I want a cigar. That's why I made one. Hold on. Let me see. Hold on, Dad. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.